They benched her after a protocol dispute. Grounded, ignored, dismissed. But she kept reading, kept rewriting the emergency procedures no one cared about, until the engine failure mid-flight, and her crew reached for the only thing that worked, her manual, the one that brought them home. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If you enjoy stories about how preparation and persistence triumph when everyone else gives up, consider subscribing for more content that explores how the disciplined ones often save the day when systems fail. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead in the crew-ready room at Ramstein Air Base, Germany, where the pre-dawn quiet was broken only by the distant sound of C-130 Hercules aircraft being prepared for another day of critical cargo missions supporting NATO operations across Eastern Europe. At 0530 hours on a gray October morning in 2019, the atmosphere carried the weight of operational tempo that had been relentlessly demanding since tensions with Russia had escalated and American airlift capabilities had become essential for maintaining alliance readiness. Captain Lisa Romano sat alone at a corner table, methodically reviewing emergency procedures manuals that had been neglected by most aircrew members who preferred to rely on simulator training and standardized checklist procedures rather than comprehensive study of aircraft systems and emergency protocols that might save lives when normal procedures failed under actual crisis conditions. At 29, Lisa appeared almost scholarly compared to the other pilots in the 37th Airlift Squadron. Pilots whose obvious confidence and natural flying ability had earned them recognition as some of the Air Force's most capable transport aviators, but who had also developed skepticism about Lisa's systematic approach to aircraft procedures and emergency preparedness that seemed excessive for routine cargo operations. Her current situation reflected the consequences of challenging squadron leadership about outdated emergency procedures that hadn't been updated to reflect lessons learned from recent incidents involving C-130 mechanical failures that had resulted in emergency landings and crew injuries that might have been prevented with improved procedures and better crew preparation. Romano, Major Jake Harrison had said during the confrontation that led to her grounding, "You're not paid to rewrite Air Force regulations. You're paid to fly the airplane according to established procedures and follow orders from your aircraft commander without second-guessing every decision." The grounding had been officially termed administrative leave pending review of crew coordination issues, but everyone in the squadron understood that Lisa was being punished for questioning authority and suggesting improvements to procedures that senior leadership considered adequate for current operations despite evidence that aircraft incidents were increasing as operational tempo intensified. Her isolation from flight duties provided unwanted time to continue studying aircraft manuals and emergency procedures that most pilots considered boring reading. But Lisa understood that comprehensive knowledge of aircraft systems could mean the difference between successful emergency response and catastrophic failure when equipment malfunctioned during critical phases of flight. The C-130 Hercules was a robust aircraft with excellent safety record, but recent incidents throughout the airlift community had revealed vulnerabilities in emergency procedures that hadn't been adequately addressed through official channels, leaving aircrew members unprepared for scenarios that exceeded standard training parameters and required innovative problem-solving. Lisa's systematic study of maintenance reports, incident analyses, and manufacturer technical bulletins had identified patterns of mechanical failures that suggested weaknesses in current emergency procedures, particularly for engine failures that occurred during critical phases of flight, when standard procedures might not provide adequate guidance for crew coordination and emergency response. Her unofficial manual revisions addressed gaps in official procedures by incorporating lessons learned from recent incidents, maintenance experience, and engineering analysis that provided more comprehensive guidance for emergency situations that exceeded standard training scenarios and required crews to adapt procedures based on specific circumstances. The work was tedious and time-consuming, requiring analysis of technical documentation that most pilots avoided in favor of simplified checklists and simulator training that covered common emergencies, but didn't prepare crews for complex situations that required understanding of aircraft systems and innovative problem-solving approaches. Captain Romano, called Staff Sergeant Rodriguez, the squadron's operations clerk whose responsibilities included managing pilot schedules and administrative requirements, Major Harrison wants to see you in his office at 0800. Lisa closed the technical manual she had been studying and prepared for another discussion about her attitude and approach to squadron operations that had created friction with leadership who preferred aircrew members who followed orders without questioning established procedures or suggesting improvements based on technical analysis. Major Harrison's office reflected the no-nonsense approach that characterized his leadership style. Military awards, squadron photographs, and operational memoranda that emphasized discipline, compliance, and adherence to established procedures without deviation or individual initiative that might compromise standardization and crew coordination. Romano, sit down, Harrison said without looking up from paperwork that probably included recommendations about Lisa's future assignments and potential disciplinary actions resulting from her challenge to squadron procedures and leadership decisions. Your grounding ends today, but I want to make something clear about your role in this squadron, Harrison continued, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had commanded respect through 15 years of military aviation and successful completion of challenging missions under demanding conditions. You're a competent pilot with good technical knowledge, but your approach to crew coordination and command authority is creating problems that affect squadron effectiveness and morale. Aircrew members need to trust their aircraft commanders and follow established procedures without constant questioning and analysis. Lisa understood that Harrison's criticism reflected institutional culture that valued standardization and compliance over individual initiative and technical innovation, even when such innovation might improve safety and operational effectiveness based on lessons learned from actual incidents and mechanical failures. Sir, I understand the importance of crew coordination and following established procedures, Lisa replied carefully. But I believe we have opportunities to improve our emergency response capabilities based on recent incident reports and technical analysis that could enhance crew preparedness for situations that exceed standard training scenarios. Harrison's expression indicated frustration with Lisa's continued focus on procedure improvement rather than acceptance of current methods and compliance with squadron leadership decisions about training priorities and operational procedures. Romano, your job is to fly assigned missions safely and effectively using established procedures. It's not to redesign Air Force emergency protocols or second-guess decisions made by officers with more experience and responsibility than you have. The conversation continued for 20 minutes with Harrison emphasizing expectations for compliance and crew coordination, while Lisa attempted to explain her analysis of emergency procedure weaknesses without appearing insubordinate or challenging command authority directly. The meeting concluded with Lisa's return to flight status, but with clear understanding that further questioning of established procedures or leadership decisions would result in more serious disciplinary action that could affect her military career and future assignment opportunities. 2 days after returning to flight status, Lisa was assigned as co-pilot for a routine cargo mission to Pristina, Kosovo, carrying medical supplies and equipment for NATO peacekeeping forces whose logistical requirements had increased due to regional tensions and operational commitments that stretched airlift capabilities throughout European theater. The aircraft commander was Captain Mike Chun, an experienced pilot whose natural flying ability and calm demeanor had earned respect throughout the squadron despite his relatively junior rank and limited experience with complex emergency situations that required innovative problem-solving and crew coordination under extreme stress. Romano, glad to have you back on the schedule, Chen said during pre-flight briefing, his comment reflecting genuine appreciation for Lisa's technical competence despite squadron leadership's concerns about her approach to procedures and command authority. The flight crew included Technical Sergeant David Martinez as flight engineer and Staff Sergeant Jennifer Kim as loadmaster, both experienced aircrew members whose technical expertise and professional competence had been proven through numerous challenging missions and emergency situations that tested their knowledge of aircraft systems and cargo operations. The mission profile included departure from Ramstein at 0800 hours, arrival in Pristina at 1,130 hours for cargo offload and crew rest, followed by return flight, with priority passengers requiring transportation to medical facilities in Germany for specialized treatment not available in Kosovo. Weather conditions were marginal with low ceilings and occasional turbulence, but within acceptable parameters for sea. 130 operations that routinely encountered challenging conditions throughout European theater where weather patterns could change rapidly and affect flight safety and mission accomplishment. Lisa conducted her pre-flight inspection with characteristic thoroughness, paying particular attention to engine components and systems that had been identified in recent maintenance reports as potential sources of mechanical problems that could affect flight safety and require emergency procedures during critical phases of flight. Her systematic approach to aircraft inspection reflected comprehensive understanding of C-130 systems that enabled early identification of potential problems and appropriate preparation for emergency situations that might develop during flight operations in challenging conditions. The departure from Ramstein proceeded normally with standard takeoff procedures and climbed to cruising altitude where autopilot engagement allowed the crew to monitor aircraft systems and prepare for arrival procedures that would require precise navigation and coordination with air traffic control in busy European airspace. At 0930 hours, while cruising at 25,000 feet over Austria, the No. 2 engine began experiencing irregular operation that initially appeared minor but gradually developed into more serious mechanical problems that required crew attention and preparation for potential emergency procedures. No. 2 engine is showing unusual oil pressure fluctuations. Chen reported to air traffic control while beginning preliminary troubleshooting procedures that were designed to identify the source of mechanical problems and determine appropriate corrective actions. Technical Sergeant Martinez immediately began systematic analysis of engine parameters and aircraft systems that might be affected by engine problems, using his extensive knowledge of C-130 mechanical systems to assess the severity of the situation and recommend appropriate crew actions. Oil pressure is continuing to decrease, and engine temperature is rising beyond normal parameters, Martinez reported to the pilots while monitoring multiple systems that could be affected by catastrophic engine failure requiring immediate shutdown and emergency procedures. Lisa retrieved the Emergency Procedures Manual and began reviewing engine failure checklists while monitoring aircraft performance and preparing for potential emergency landing procedures that might be required if the engine situation deteriorated beyond the crew's ability to maintain safe flight. The standard emergency procedures provided basic guidance for engine shutdown and single-engine approach procedures, but Lisa's analysis of recent incident reports had identified scenarios where standard procedures might not provide adequate guidance for complex mechanical failures that required crew coordination and innovative problem-solving. At 0945 hours, the No. 2 engine failed catastrophically with loud mechanical sounds and immediate loss of power that required emergency shutdown procedures and crew coordination to maintain aircraft control while preparing for emergency landing at the nearest suitable airport. No. 2 engine failure, initiating emergency shutdown procedures, Chen announced while following standard checklists that provided basic guidance for single-engine operations but didn't address specific scenarios that had been documented in recent incident reports throughout the airlift community. The engine failure occurred during a critical phase of flight, where standard procedures required immediate crew coordination and precise execution of emergency checklists. But the specific circumstances of the mechanical failure presented challenges that exceeded normal training scenarios and required innovative problem-solving. Lisa's systematic study of emergency procedures and incident reports had identified similar scenarios where standard checklists didn't provide adequate guidance for complex mechanical failures that affected multiple aircraft systems and required crews to adapt procedures based on specific circumstances and aircraft performance. Chun, the standard emergency procedures don't address the specific combination of engine failure and hydraulic system degradation we're experiencing, Lisa said while reviewing both official checklists and her own manual revisions that incorporated lessons learned from similar incidents. The hydraulic system problems are affecting our ability to control the aircraft using standard single-engine procedures, and we need to modify our approach based on actual aircraft performance rather than standard assumptions about single-engine capabilities. Chen's response reflected the time pressure and stress associated with managing complex emergency situations that required immediate decisions and precise execution of procedures while coordinating with air traffic control and preparing passengers for potential emergency landing procedures. Romano, We need to follow established procedures and coordinate with approach control for emergency landing, Chen said while struggling to maintain aircraft control using standard techniques that weren't fully effective given the specific combination of mechanical failures affecting the aircraft. Lisa opened her unofficial manual that contained revised emergency procedures based on analysis of recent incidents and engineering recommendations that hadn't been incorporated into official Air Force procedures due to bureaucratic delays and resistance to procedure changes that challenged established methods. Chun, I've got revised procedures that address this specific scenario, Lisa said while locating the section of her manual that covered engine failure with concurrent hydraulic system degradation that was affecting aircraft controllability and required modified approach techniques. The revised procedures include specific control inputs and configuration changes that can improve aircraft handling when standard single-engine procedures aren't fully effective due to secondary system failures that affect normal flight characteristics. Technical Sergeant Martinez recognized that Lisa's revised procedures addressed technical issues that he had observed during maintenance operations but hadn't seen documented in official emergency checklists that typically focused on common scenarios rather than complex mechanical failures. Captain Romano's procedures matched the engineering bulletins I've seen about hydraulic system interactions with engine failures, Martinez confirmed while monitoring aircraft systems that were performing differently than standard procedures assumed. Chun made the decision to implement Lisa's revised procedures while continuing coordination with air traffic control for emergency approach to Vienna International Airport, where emergency response teams were being prepared for potential aircraft accident involving mechanical failures and crew injuries. The revised procedures included specific control techniques and aircraft configuration changes that improved handling characteristics during single-engine approach while compensating for hydraulic system degradation that was affecting normal flight controls and requiring modified pilot inputs for safe aircraft operation. Lisa's systematic analysis of similar incidents had identified control techniques that enabled crews to maintain adequate aircraft performance despite mechanical failures that exceeded standard emergency training scenarios and required innovative approaches to aircraft handling and crew coordination. The emergency approach to Vienna required precise execution of modified procedures while coordinating with emergency response teams and preparing passengers for potential evacuation procedures that might be necessary if the aircraft sustained additional damage during landing operations. The revised procedures are working better than standard checklists, Chen reported to air traffic control while executing the emergency approach using Lisa's modified techniques that provided better aircraft control than standard single-engine procedures under current conditions. Technical Sergeant Martinez continued monitoring aircraft systems while coordinating with the crew to ensure that all emergency equipment and evacuation procedures were prepared for immediate implementation if the landing situation deteriorated beyond normal emergency response capabilities. The successful emergency landing at Vienna International Airport demonstrated the effectiveness of Lisa's revised procedures under actual emergency conditions that had exceeded standard training scenarios and required innovative problem-solving and crew coordination to achieve safe outcomes. Emergency response teams that met the aircraft confirmed that the mechanical failures had been severe enough to potentially cause catastrophic accident if the crew hadn't been able to maintain adequate aircraft control using modified procedures that addressed the specific combination of system failures. Outstanding crew coordination and emergency response, said the Vienna Airport emergency coordinator who debriefed the crew about the incident. Your ability to maintain aircraft control despite multiple system failures probably prevented a much more serious outcome. The incident investigation revealed that Lisa's revised procedures had been crucial for successful emergency response, providing guidance that wasn't available in standard Air Force emergency checklists, but had enabled the crew to safely handle mechanical failures that exceeded normal emergency training parameters. Major Harrison flew to Vienna to participate in the incident investigation and crew debriefing, his expression combining relief at the successful outcome with recognition that Lisa's systematic approach to emergency procedures had potentially saved lives and prevented aircraft loss that could have resulted from following standard procedures under exceptional circumstances. Romano, I owe you an apology, Harrison said during the debriefing session. Your analysis of emergency procedures and systematic approach to crew preparation proved crucial for managing this emergency successfully. Without your revised procedures, this incident could have had a very different outcome. The incident report documented that Lisa's unofficial manual revisions had filled critical gaps in standard emergency procedures, providing guidance that enabled successful crew response to mechanical failures that had previously resulted in aircraft accidents and crew injuries throughout the airlift community. The successful emergency response led to official review of Lisa's procedure revisions by Air Force Headquarters, where technical experts confirmed that her analysis had identified weaknesses in standard emergency procedures that needed to be addressed through official procedure updates and enhanced aircrew training. 3 months after the Vienna emergency landing, Captain Lisa Romano received the Air Medal for heroism and professional achievement that had prevented aircraft accident and potential crew fatalities through innovative problem-solving and systematic preparation that exceeded normal professional requirements. The decoration recognized not just her performance during the emergency, but her systematic approach to emergency preparedness that had identified and addressed procedural weaknesses before they could result in catastrophic outcomes during actual emergency situations. Major Harrison's evaluation of Lisa's performance noted that her technical expertise and systematic approach to emergency procedures had enhanced squadron readiness and safety standards while demonstrating the value of individual initiative and continuous improvement in professional military education and operational preparation. Captain Romano's systematic analysis of emergency procedures and commitment to crew preparedness represents the highest standards of professional military aviation. Harrison wrote in the evaluation that would influence Lisa's future assignments and career progression. The incident also resulted in Air Force-wide adoption of Lisa's revised emergency procedures, with official incorporation of her technical analysis and recommendations into standard aircrew training and emergency response protocols that would benefit crews throughout the airlift community. 6 months later, Major Lisa Romano was selected for assignment as an instructor pilot at the Air Force's C-130 Training Center, where her systematic approach to emergency preparedness and technical expertise would influence aircrew training and procedure development for the entire airlift community. Her instructor assignment reflected recognition that her technical competence and innovative approach to emergency procedures represented valuable capabilities for developing aircrew members who could handle complex situations that exceeded standard training parameters and required creative problem-solving under pressure. The training programs she developed integrated systematic emergency preparedness with practical scenario-based instruction that prepared aircrew members for situations that might not be covered in standard training but could occur during actual operations under challenging conditions. Today, Colonel Lisa Romano serves as commander of the Air Mobility Command Safety Center, where her systematic approach to emergency preparedness has influenced safety protocols and training programs throughout the military airlift community worldwide. Her leadership philosophy emphasizes continuous improvement and systematic analysis as essential components of aviation safety, producing programs that identify and address potential hazards before they result in accidents or incidents that could endanger aircrew members and compromise mission effectiveness. The training manuals she developed continue to influence aircrew education throughout military and civilian aviation communities, with systematic approaches to emergency preparedness that honor both established procedures and innovative problem-solving when circumstances exceed standard parameters. Captain Chun, who had been aircraft commander during the Vienna emergency, now serves as deputy commander of the Safety Center, implementing training programs that incorporate systematic emergency preparedness based on lessons learned from Lisa's approach to procedure development and crew coordination under emergency conditions. Lisa taught all of us that emergency preparedness requires both respect for established procedures and willingness to innovate when circumstances exceed standard assumptions. Chin reflects during interviews about contemporary aviation safety development. Her systematic approach to emergency procedures proved that individual initiative and technical expertise can enhance rather than undermine crew coordination and standardization when applied with proper understanding of aircraft systems and operational requirements. The recognition extends beyond individual career achievement to systematic changes in military aviation training that reflect Lisa's demonstration of how comprehensive technical knowledge and systematic preparation enhance safety and operational effectiveness under challenging conditions. Her influence on aviation safety extends through training programs where aircrew members learn systematic approaches to emergency preparedness that combine respect for established procedures with innovative problem-solving capabilities necessary for managing situations that exceed normal training parameters. The pilot who was grounded for questioning procedures proved that systematic preparation and comprehensive technical knowledge provide foundations for aviation safety that complement rather than challenge established methods, demonstrating that innovation and standardization can work together to enhance aircrew capabilities and operational effectiveness. Lisa's story demonstrates that aviation safety requires both disciplined adherence to established procedures and willingness to identify and address weaknesses that might not be apparent until emergency situations reveal gaps in standard training and crew preparation that could result in preventable accidents. The manual that she had written during her grounding continues to influence aircrew training and emergency procedure development, ensuring that future aviators develop systematic approaches to emergency preparedness that enable successful response when aircraft systems fail and crews must rely on comprehensive knowledge and innovative problem-solving to achieve safe outcomes. Her legacy demonstrates that the most effective aviation safety improvements often come from individual initiative and systematic analysis that identifies problems before they result in accidents, creating procedures and training that enhance crew capabilities while maintaining respect for established methods and command authority that ensure coordinated response during emergency situations. 2 years after the Vienna incident that had validated her systematic approach to emergency preparedness, Colonel Lisa Romano found herself addressing the International Air Safety Symposium in Montreal, where over 1,200 aviation professionals from 67 countries had gathered to discuss emerging challenges in military and civilian aviation safety that required innovative approaches to crew training and emergency response protocols. The future of aviation safety depends on our ability to integrate systematic analysis with operational experience. Lisa addressed the assembled safety experts, her voice carrying the authority of someone whose innovations had been validated through successful emergency response and documented improvements in aircrew survivability rates. Traditional safety approaches focus on standardization and compliance with established procedures, which remain essential for coordinated crew response. However, we must also develop systematic capabilities for identifying and addressing procedural gaps before they result in accidents during situations that exceed standard training parameters. The symposium audience included senior safety officials from major airlines, military aviation commands, and international regulatory agencies whose responsibility for aviation safety had been complicated by increasing operational complexity and evolving threat environments that challenge traditional approaches to crew training and emergency preparedness. Dr. Heinrich Müller, director of the European Aviation Safety Agency, had specifically requested Lisa's participation in strategic planning sessions that would determine international standards for emergency crew training and safety protocol development that could be applied across different aviation systems and operational environments. Colonel Romano, your systematic approach to emergency preparedness has produced measurable improvements in military aircrew survivability and successful emergency response rates, Dr. Müller noted during the opening session. We need your analytical expertise to develop international standards that can address procedural gaps while maintaining operational standardization requirements. Lisa's response reflected years of operational experience that had demonstrated the effectiveness of systematic approaches to safety improvement under conditions that tested every aspect of aircrew capability and emergency response coordination. Dr. Müller, effective international safety standards require integration of systematic gap analysis with cultural adaptation that respects different operational environments while maintaining core safety principles. Lisa replied, using detailed statistical analysis of emergency response data to support her recommendations for training standardization and protocol development. Safety programs must develop comprehensive hazard identification capabilities through systematic analysis, while also maintaining flexibility to adapt procedures to specific operational contexts and aircraft systems that affect emergency response effectiveness under challenging conditions. Her presentation included comprehensive analysis of emergency response performance data from military and civilian operations worldwide that demonstrated superior survival rates and reduced accident severity among crews trained using systematic approaches to emergency preparedness, compared to traditional training methodologies that emphasize standardization without comprehensive hazard analysis. The data revealed significant improvements in crew response effectiveness during emergencies, where systematic preparation and comprehensive system knowledge proved more valuable than strict adherence to standard procedures under conditions that exceeded normal training assumptions and required innovative problem-solving approaches. These performance improvements reflect systematic integration of comprehensive preparation with operational flexibility. Lisa continued, presenting analysis that showed consistent patterns of superior emergency response among crews trained using integrated approaches to safety preparation and technical system understanding. Crews trained in systematic hazard analysis consistently demonstrate earlier problem recognition, more effective emergency response coordination, and superior adaptation to unusual circumstances that challenge standard procedural assumptions and require innovative crew coordination techniques. Captain Maria Rodriguez, representing Latin American aviation safety organizations, recognized the significance of Lisa's analytical findings for regional aviation operations where diverse aircraft types and operational environments created challenges that exceeded standardized training approaches and required systematic adaptation of safety protocols. Colonel Romano, your analysis suggests fundamental changes in how we approach safety training from basic procedural instruction through advanced emergency response coordination, Rodriguez noted during the strategic planning discussion. How do we implement systematic approaches while maintaining standardization requirements necessary for international coordination and crew interoperability? Lisa's response demonstrated the comprehensive thinking that had characterized her approach to aviation safety throughout her career, integrating operational experience with systematic analysis of training effectiveness and emergency response performance under challenging conditions. Captain Rodriguez, effective integration requires systematic development of hazard analysis capabilities during initial training phases, followed by progressive introduction of adaptive response techniques that build on comprehensive system understanding rather than replacing standardized procedures with individualized approaches. Her training methodology recommendations included detailed implementation procedures for systematic hazard identification education, progressive emergency scenario development, and comprehensive evaluation criteria that would measure both systematic preparation and standardized execution capabilities under realistic operational conditions. The strategic planning session resulted in Lisa's appointment as director of the International Aviation Safety Consortium's new Emergency Response Training Center, where her systematic approach to safety improvement would be applied to developing programs that integrated comprehensive preparation with standardized response protocols for aviation professionals throughout global aviation communities. Her appointment reflected recognition that aviation safety effectiveness required comprehensive approaches that combined systematic hazard analysis with standardized response procedures, producing professionals whose systematic preparation enhanced rather than replaced traditional crew coordination and emergency response protocols. The Emergency Response Training Center under Lisa's leadership developed programs that systematically integrated hazard identification education with progressive scenario-based training, producing aviation professionals whose comprehensive situational awareness enhanced their ability to execute standardized procedures when operational conditions required coordinated response to complex emergencies. The goal is not to replace standardized procedures with individualized analysis, Lisa explained during the center's inaugural training program, but to enhance crew capabilities with comprehensive preparation that enables effective adaptation when circumstances exceed standard procedural assumptions while maintaining coordinated response protocols. The training methodology she developed included systematic hazard recognition education, progressive technical system instruction, and comprehensive scenario evaluation that tested both systematic preparation and standardized execution under realistic conditions that replicated operational challenges from aviation environments worldwide. Initial aviation professional training using Lisa's integrated methodology demonstrated significant improvements in emergency response performance, with graduates showing superior hazard recognition capabilities, more effective crew coordination, and enhanced adaptation to unusual circumstances while maintaining standardized response protocols under challenging conditions. Colonel Romano's training methodology has revolutionized our approach to international aviation safety education, noted Dr. Chun, the center's deputy director, whose own aviation safety background had been enhanced through systematic integration of comprehensive preparation with standardized response techniques. Professionals trained using integrated approaches consistently demonstrate superior performance during complex emergency scenarios, with earlier hazard recognition and more effective response coordination that maintains standardized protocols while enabling adaptation to circumstances that exceed normal training parameters. The success of Lisa's integrated training methodology attracted participation from aviation organizations worldwide, resulting in international cooperation agreements that extended her systematic approach to safety education throughout military and civilian aviation communities globally and established new standards for emergency response training effectiveness. Representatives from aviation authorities in Asia, Europe, Africa, and the Americas participated in training programs at the Emergency Response Training Center, learning systematic approaches to hazard analysis and emergency response that complemented their existing capabilities while enhancing safety effectiveness through comprehensive preparation and coordinated execution. The integration of systematic analysis with standardized response protocols represents a fundamental advancement in international aviation safety training, observed Chief Inspector Yamamoto of Japanese Civil Aviation during international cooperation programs at Lisa's Center. Japanese aviation professionals trained using Colonel Romano's methodology demonstrate measurable improvements in emergency response performance, with enhanced hazard recognition and superior crew coordination that maintains standardized protocols while enabling effective adaptation to unusual circumstances through comprehensive situational awareness. Similar recognition came from aviation safety leaders throughout international aviation communities, with systematic integration of comprehensive preparation and standardized response becoming accepted practice for advanced emergency response training programs worldwide, based on Lisa's demonstration of enhanced safety effectiveness through systematic preparation. 3 years after establishing the Emergency Response Training Center, Lisa's systematic approach to safety training had influenced professional education programs throughout global aviation communities, with measurable improvements in emergency response performance and accident prevention documented across multiple aviation systems and challenging operational environments. Statistical analysis of aviation professional performance demonstrated consistent patterns of superior emergency response effectiveness among professionals trained using integrated methodologies, with earlier hazard recognition, more effective crew coordination, and enhanced adaptation capabilities under challenging conditions that tested comprehensive preparation and standardized execution protocols. Colonel Romano has fundamentally changed how international aviation approaches safety training and emergency response preparation, noted Dr. Martinez, the current International Aviation Safety Consortium president, during annual performance evaluations that recognized Lisa's contributions to safety effectiveness and professional training development. Her systematic integration of comprehensive preparation with standardized response protocols has produced measurable improvements in emergency response performance and accident prevention that exceed previous training methodologies while maintaining standardization requirements necessary for coordinated international aviation operations. The recognition extended beyond individual achievement to systematic changes in aviation safety doctrine that reflected Lisa's demonstration of how comprehensive preparation enhanced emergency response effectiveness, while maintaining standardized protocols necessary for coordinated crew response under challenging operational conditions. For years after her Vienna emergency landing, Brigadier General Lisa Romano was selected for assignment to the Pentagon's Air Staff, where her aviation safety expertise would be applied to strategic planning for military aviation operations requiring enhanced emergency response capabilities under evolving threat environments and operational challenges. The Pentagon assignment reflected recognition that Lisa's systematic approach to safety improvement represented valuable capabilities for strategic military aviation planning requiring comprehensive hazard analysis and innovative approaches to crew preparedness under conditions that exceeded traditional training assumptions and operational parameters. Her systematic analytical approach to safety improvement proved equally effective for strategic military planning that required comprehensive assessment of operational hazards, resource allocation, and training requirements under conditions where traditional approaches might not provide adequate preparation for emerging threats and operational challenges. The methodical problem-solving techniques that had enabled Lisa's aviation safety innovations translated directly to strategic planning that required systematic approaches to complex logistical challenges and resource management under conditions that exceeded normal military aviation capabilities and traditional operational planning assumptions. During her first year at the Pentagon, Lisa's systematic approach to strategic aviation planning resulted in policy recommendations that enhanced military aviation safety, while improving operational effectiveness through comprehensive hazard analysis and innovative training approaches that addressed emerging threats and operational requirements. Her performance during strategic planning assignments validated the integration of systematic safety analysis with military operational requirements, demonstrating that comprehensive preparation enhanced military effectiveness while maintaining safety standards under the most demanding operational conditions and threat environments. The success of Lisa's systematic approach to strategic military aviation planning attracted attention from Joint Service leadership, resulting in her selection for advanced strategic planning training that would prepare her for senior leadership positions in military aviation and defense policy coordination. Today, Lieutenant General Lisa Romano serves as Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations at Headquarters Air Force, where her systematic approach to aviation safety and strategic planning influences military aviation policy and training programs throughout global Air Force operations. Her leadership philosophy emphasizes systematic preparation and comprehensive hazard analysis as essential components of military aviation operations, producing strategic capabilities that reflect her demonstration of how comprehensive preparation enables effective response when operational conditions exceed normal parameters and challenge traditional approaches. The training programs she developed for strategic aviation planning integrate systematic safety analysis with operational requirements assessment and international cooperation protocols that enable effective military aviation operations across diverse geographic and threat environments while maintaining safety standards. Major Harrison, who had initially grounded Lisa for questioning procedures, now serves as Senior Advisor for Air Force Safety Policy Development, implementing systematic hazard analysis techniques based on lessons learned from Lisa's innovations and strategic planning performance that enhanced military aviation safety and operational effectiveness. Lisa demonstrated that systematic safety analysis enhances rather than undermines military operational effectiveness. Harrison reflects during interviews about contemporary military aviation development. Her comprehensive approach proved more effective than traditional methods based on standardization without systematic hazard identification and innovative problem-solving capabilities. The recognition extends beyond individual career achievement to systematic changes in military aviation policy that reflect Lisa's demonstration of how comprehensive preparation and systematic analysis enable sustained operations under challenging conditions that exceed normal safety parameters and traditional operational assumptions. Her influence on global military aviation extends through strategic planning programs, where senior officers learn systematic approaches to safety improvement and operational planning that enhance their capabilities for military aviation operations requiring sustained performance under challenging conditions that test comprehensive preparation and coordinated execution capabilities. The systematic safety improvement methods that Lisa developed continue to influence military aviation education throughout international military communities, ensuring aviation professionals develop comprehensive capabilities necessary for operations where operational conditions challenge traditional safety assumptions and require specialized knowledge and systematic preparation. Military aviation services worldwide have adopted strategic planning methodologies based on Lisa's systematic approach to safety improvement and operational analysis. producing aviation capabilities whose comprehensive preparation and technical expertise reflect her validation of how systematic analysis and methodical execution enable extraordinary performance when operational conditions exceed traditional parameters. The International Military Aviation Safety Association has established the Romano Award for Excellence in Systematic Safety Innovation, recognizing military aviation professionals whose systematic approaches to safety improvement demonstrate the comprehensive preparation and analytical expertise that Lisa pioneered through her emergency procedure innovations and subsequent strategic planning contributions. Recipients of the Romano Award represent military aviation professionals from every major air force and operational environment, whose safety achievements reflect systematic training methods and comprehensive preparation techniques that enable sustained aviation operations under conditions that challenge traditional safety assumptions and operational planning approaches. The grounded pilot who had been dismissed for questioning procedures proved that systematic preparation and comprehensive technical analysis provide foundations for aviation safety that enhance rather than challenge established methods, demonstrating that individual initiative and systematic thinking often determine operational success when circumstances exceed traditional assumptions and require innovative problem-solving approaches. Lisa's legacy demonstrates that aviation safety requires integrated approaches that combine systematic hazard analysis with standardized response protocols and comprehensive technical preparation, producing capabilities that transcend individual limitations through systematic understanding of operational factors and methodical application of proven safety techniques and strategic planning methodologies. Her story continues to inspire aviation professionals worldwide who face operational challenges that test traditional safety assumptions and require systematic approaches to hazard identification and emergency response, validating the principle that comprehensive preparation and systematic analysis enable extraordinary performance when operational conditions exceed normal parameters and challenge established procedural assumptions. The manual that she had written during her grounding established principles of systematic safety analysis and comprehensive emergency preparedness that continue to influence aviation safety operations worldwide, ensuring aviation professionals develop capabilities necessary for sustained operations where operational conditions challenge traditional safety assumptions and require specialized knowledge that transcends standard procedural compliance and enables innovative problem-solving under challenging circumstances.